Sunday, sunny hot, high 112. Bring Dad to the D-backs Padres Father's Day ballgame this Sunday, Chase Field. He'll take home the D-backs Dad Tea, courtesy of Audi. Buy tickets at dbacks.com.
Right now it's 108 degrees. Dow is down 96 points at 18,020. S&P 500 down 10 at 2111. The NASDAQ is down 16 at 5117. Reporting for Money Radio, I'm Ken Morgan.
The views expressed on the following program do not necessarily reflect the views of Money Radio staff, management, or advertisers, and do not represent an offer to buy or sell any securities. Some interviews heard on this program may be sponsored by the participants. It's time for Health Futures with Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth. This is Arizona's only show dedicated to providing you with expert advice on how to live a longer, healthier, and happier life. To learn more, call 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Bob Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And we're coming at you live from the Scottsdale Air Park studios here at Money Radio, 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and can be found live on the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. It's hard to believe it's June 19th, and I said this last week when it was June 12th. Summer is finally here. Boy, oh boy, is it hot out. And I have the good fortune today of having my co-host, occasionally, my faithful companion, Paul Fredericks, our Vice President of Client Services at Cypress Home Care Solutions. Welcome, Paul.
Always good to be in a co-pilot seat, Bob.
It's good to have you in the co-pilot seat. And I have today a good friend in the trade of home care and caring for our aging adult population. And it's someone I met probably about 6-7 years ago when you first came to this country. Michael Sumner from the Beach Medical Group.
Thank
Welcome.
you, Bob. It's wonderful to be here.
It's good to have you, the Chief Executive Officer of a fantastic organization, and you guys have really built a nice enterprise and one that I've admired for some time, and it's good to have you not only as a colleague but as a good friend. So
Thank
welcome.
you, Bob. I do appreciate that.
Obviously, he's from across the pond, in case someone's wondering.
Yeah, you got to like that Queen's English.
That's right.
It's really good, and I will tell you, if you need to disarm anybody, you just speak that language.
That's right.
And I used to have somebody that worked in the scheduling department and spoke the Queen's English. I had someone that spoke Southern from North Carolina, and anytime you had somebody that was having a not so great day, they seemed to bring a smile to their face when they hear that voice. So great to have you in the studio here today, Michael. I want to share, some news with our listening audience. And, a lot of people know that, we are in home care. And let me just pause for a second and just share with our listening audience. If you're just tuning in right now, this show, Health Futures, Taking Stock in You, is a show about how our aging adult population can live a healthier, happier life. Cypress Home Care Solutions is a home care agency that's been here in the Valley for 21 years, and we've been assisting so many people in this aging adult population do just that. Mm-hmm. And Michael, you're one of my colleagues, and you do a fantastic job. And while you've not been here for 21 years, you've been here for close to 10 years, I would say. How many years has Beach?
Well, actually, Bob, it's about 6 years.
It's about 6 years.
Yep.
Wow. But you did do some business, and we're going to hear a little bit about your background in the second segment. You did a little bit of business in this type of field across the pond. How many years were you guys in the business over there?
Since 2000, so it's about 15 years in total in this particular industry.
Nice. Really, really nice. And this industry is moving, and it is changing by the moment. And I know, Paul, you shared this quote that was given that I heard from Peter Fine, the CEO and president of Banner Health. And that is, it's like a automobile going down the freeway and your front right tire goes flat. you don't have time to pull over and fix it. You got to try to fix it as you're going 70 or 80 miles an hour.
That's right.
And that's what we're dealing with right now. And it's an ever-changing landscape. And, one of the things that did happen just the other day is there was a huge bust on Medicare. And it was the largest Medicare bust ever. And while we're not in the Medicare space, we work hand in glove with a lot of people that are in that space. And unfortunately, in home care, and I've shared this with our listening audience before, there are some bad actors. And they're bad actors in every space, but in our space, there seems to be more. And those that are in the home health space and others that are receiving reimbursement, they're bad actors, and they're taking our dollars. When I say they're our dollars, as Americans, we have paid into our federal government, not only our taxes, but Medicare dollars and stuff like that.
Well, just during the 2012 election period, when the two presidential candidates were running off, there was statements made on both sides that there was $800 billion in fraud, just on Medicare alone, 800 with a B, billion dollars in fraud.
And that was in total, or was that just for that year?
Well, that's a good question.
Because there's a lot of dollars in Medicare, right?
But $800 billion, that'll treat a lot of folks.
Well, I'll tell you what, this one was $712 million in false billing to Medicare. And two states in particular, it was in Michigan and it was in Florida that were the biggest culprits. And, I serve on the board for one of the largest trade associations, their affiliate, the Private Duty Home Care Association, which is part of the National Association of Home Care and Hospice. And we knew and know that a lot of this stuff is going on. And it's good to see that our Justice Department is making progress.
Absolutely.
Well, speaking of progress, here in our state, we made some progress. And I couldn't have done this alone. I had a lot of help from a lot of my friends and colleagues in our community, and that is, we have this great aging adult population here in our state. We have 29 states that have what we call licensure, and that is some type of oversight by the federal government and state government. Need to be stand corrected, by the state government on how delivery of care is being done in the home. And in Arizona, we were one of the states that did not have it. And I was on the initial drive to put this in place back in 2007, and we went to the altar 4 different times, and the first 3 we struck out, and like Casey at bat, we never gave up, and this year we got it accomplished. And I want to just replay something that happened, and Michael, you remember this, and I'm sure you remember it like yesterday. We went through what they call the sunrise hearing process, and that's a process that our state has, that they vet out any bill that is related to health care to see if it is worthy of being submitted through the next legislative session. So this was December 13th, or December 2013 for the 2014 session. And you and I and many of our colleagues were there in the audience, and I got up there to represent our trade. I think I was up there for about 40 or 45 minutes and got grilled. And I thought we did a great job making our case. We had the Attorney General up there, we had AARP up there, and we had a lot of other people speaking on our behalf. And a lot of people, when you do go through that process, you can send emails and notes. And so we had a lot of favor in what we were trying to accomplish. And if you think about it, I mean, you have nail technicians, you have beauticians and stuff that can get licensed. Why not home care? So we came away victorious in the sense that we won 8-2. And Michael and I were standing outside, and our colleagues were all high-fiving each other, and they were all excited. And Michael looked at me, and I looked at him, and we both realized that the person that was head of the Senate Health and Human Services, Senator Nancy Bardo, was one of the dissenting votes. And we were like, not so fast. We're not getting this done. We're not getting it done because we'll never get through the Senate. And it was Michael and I and another fellow, Don Irish, who runs a great home care agency called Family Home Care. We spent the summer last year visiting with Senator Bartow. And then this year, we were successful. We got it accomplished. And we got through that sunrise process with a 9-1 vote. I'll talk a little bit more about this when we come back. It's hard to believe we're up on a hard break, and
but it's only the beginning, Bob.
You're enjoying the tunes. Chicago, right?
That's right.
It is only the beginning. Thank you, James, our engineer, for setting that one up. But you're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I've got Paul Fredericks as my co-host, and I've got Michael Sumner in our studio from Beach Medical Group. He is the CEO, and we will be right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about licensure.
Like most Money Radio listeners, you get a little busy sometimes, meaning you can't always hear your favorite shows. Now you can tune in anytime to one of the best retirement shows on the radio, Mastering Money, with wealth manager Steve Jurich and the doctor, Sinclair No. Heard weekdays at 8 a.m. live or at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. or noon. It's really up to you. Download the Mastering Money app for your Apple or Android device, or click on the podcast at masteringmoneyradio.com. See you there.
Oil. We produce it. We use it. We need it. Now you want to know how to invest in it. Join Brandon Cox, CEO of Pipeline Oil and Gas, at his new time, Monday from noon to 1 p.m. Brandon drills down the oil and gas industry. Learn what makes Pipeline different and things to look out for when investing in energy. Education is key when it comes to oil and gas, so don't miss Crude Awakenings with Brandon Cox every Monday from noon to 1 on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM. For more information, visit pipelineoilandgas.com.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ray Lucia, and I talk about your money, your business, and your life right here on the radio. So if you happen to have any money-type questions, well, worry not. That's because I'm here to provide you with the most sound financial advice in the country. So tune in to the Ray Lucia Show every weekday, 10 to 11 a.m., right here on Money Radio 1510 a.m. and 99.3 FM.
Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Precious Timber with Alex Wilson on Money Radio 1510 a.m. and 99.3 FM.
Check into cash. Need a little extra cash right away? Who doesn't? Turn your car into cash at Check into Cash.
Get a title-secured loan today for up to $25,000. At Check into Cash, we make it quick, easy, and confidential.
Turn your car into cash today at Check into Cash. Visit checkintocash.com for the store near you.
Title-secured loan amount based on value of vehicle and ability to repay. Restrictions apply. See store for details.
Frustrated with your current provider and their constant outages? Western WiMAX can install your new reliable service before your next billing cycle with your current provider. 480-575-7550.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. And we are in our second segment. I can't believe we are. We one down. We got 3 to go. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Health Futures. You can catch that first segment up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. You can catch about almost 80 others. And you can catch the next 3 that we're going to go through. I've got in the studio today as my co-host, I got Paul Fredericks, VP of Client Services for Cypress Home Care Solutions, and I've got the CEO and good friend from Beach Medical Group, Michael Sumner. And when we broke, we were talking about the licensure process, Michael, that we went through. So, I quickly talked about what we accomplished this December, and we walked away with a 9-1 vote.
Absolutely, and it was incredible because we when we looked at that vote, we actually achieved what we believed would actually get us through the process. And
it's interesting because the one dissenting vote we got both years was the physician that sits on the committee, the Sunrise hearing, and that's Kelly Ward, who voted against us both times.
She did vote against us both times, but actually through the process, she did transfer and support the bill in the end.
She did. She did. And it was nice that we got through it and we got this thing accomplished. The rule goes into place in July. And, for us, it's safeguarding our aging adults. But the nice thing about it, and while it's not the perfect bill, and sometimes you never get the perfect bill, it is a disclosure bill. And, for our listening audience, so they understand, one of the challenges that we have is that people are coming into others' homes. And there's been this big movement in not only our community, but communities around the country where a lot of independent contractors are coming in. And there's a thing called a registry where it's not the word to use, employ, but they engage these independent contractors to go into people's homes. And many of these independent contractors through these registries look a lot like Beach Medical Group and Cypress Home Care and many of the other companies, but they don't have the safeguards. So one of the things that you and I accomplished with the help of Don Irish and the help of the legislators is the need to have disclosure, because you and I and the others believe that full disclosure is very important. It's kind of like a buyer beware. And the following things are going to be disclosed come after July is whether criminal background checks have been done, the name of the person that is in charge of the day-to-day management of the business, whether it's employer-based or contractors, a description of the required training for the employees or contractors, a description of the services that are being provided, and lastly, the entity service agreements and how they may be engaged into as well as terminated.
And Bob, we are all really passionate about bringing these protections into private consumers. If the services are being delivered through, one of the managed care organizations, through Access, or one of the insurance companies, those protections are in place. But for private consumers, up until now, there has been nothing.
Exactly. And it's a big feather in our cap. And, I've given the statistics in the state of Arizona. I mean, we have the grayingest most state in the union. I mean, our population is aging the fastest. And we have a responsibility to safeguard these folks. So I do want to talk a little bit more to you, Michael, because you and I, have not only a great kinship, but you've got a good handle on where you see healthcare going. And a lot of it stems from your experience in Great Britain. And I'd love for you to take a minute or two to share with our listening audience about your background and how you came here to America and what you used to do in Great Britain, some of the things that you saw there in Great Britain as it relates to healthcare, things that failed, things that were successful, things that you might see migrating over here across the pond to the United States.
Certainly, Bob. Thank you. Yes, and that's very interesting for us because my experience in seeing two separate and disparate health systems that may be closer than you really think at first glance. But the one thing that is true is that in Europe, the aging, the graph of how people age is a little bit ahead of where it is in the US. So some of these issues actually hit Europe a little earlier than they've hit in the US, especially when it comes to providing services for a senior population that is quite frankly demanding a lot more today. People are healthier, they're living longer, and that's really, really positive. But we need to have the supports in place. And I think back to my experience in the UK, especially around the late 90s and the early 2000s, we saw this real shift, this realization that the model that the services were being delivered under was probably not fit for purpose anymore, that it needed to become, should we say, far more focused and far more outcome-driven. And when I say outcome-driven, what I really mean by that is that people's lives, the quality of their lives actually improved via the services being delivered. It wasn't just a status quo, but it was, are you better off? Are you happier? Are you healthier? Are you able to do more? And over that period, and I can say from about the year 2000 till 2008, when actually I left the UK to come over to the United States, the big change that happened was how home care was delivered. To where if I look back to the 90s, it was very, very much based upon, a caregiver coming in and providing maybe 20 hours support over a week. And maybe that would be stretched out into five visits across Monday to Friday, 4 hours a day. And the dilemma that really encountered was that when you need support, you need it 7 days a week, and maybe you need it 365 days a year. Mm-hmm. The other aspect is which 4 hours do you actually tackle? And the problem that we have within our system at the moment here in Arizona is that it's not designed for some of these changes. And over time, the rate of people actually aging and moving into the population of needing support, and the amount of caregivers we have who are coming into the base is shrinking, yet we have this increasing demand. And so the system itself, as it is delivered today, is really unsustainable.
Absolutely. We've talked about this here on the show.
Absolutely unsustainable. So what we saw in the UK was a slight change in the way that worked, to where it became a lot more focused, where the visit times were shorter, i.e. we were looking at 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening, maybe half an hour at lunch. But the actual services delivered changed in themselves, becoming very, very focused and based on, is this going to achieve a result? How is the person going to improve the quality of their life by what is done within that hour?
Right.
To make sure that we made the maximum possible value out of the call. And
if it's not improved, at least maintain.
Absolutely.
Because we don't want them to slip.
Absolutely, yes. It's and also the whole question of, aging in place. We really know that, and I know that I do, and I know my parents do. They want to stay in their own homes.
Right.
That is not the debate, and the real question is, how do we make that safe and sustainable for a much longer period? Now, that's not to say that at some stage you may or may not have to leave your home. But it's more to say that, can we find a way to actually allow you the choice to stay there as long as you possibly can? And that's where I think so many of the changes that I saw happen in the UK were being brought about to achieve that sort of result. Now,
do you have, or did you have, the same kind of shrinking caregiving population there as we have here? I mean, the numbers here are daunting, and I know you've seen this chart, and I've talked about it a lot on our show. By 2030, we're going to have less than 3 available caregivers for every aging adult, about 2.5, and then less than 2 by 2050. I mean, you and I know technology, and I know that you have, let's put it this way, you have a desire as well as a great interest in introducing technology. You're doing it at Beach Medical Group. Technology has to be a part of the delivery system. It's not sustainable, like you said.
Absolutely. It's absolutely not sustainable the way it is at the moment. But I think the mistake that a lot of people make when they look at technology is they believe that technology in itself is an answer. Technology is part of the answer.
Exactly.
It's really the combination of people using technology intelligently, saying, how can we actually make use of what's available on the market to provide us intelligent data and information? And this is where we at probably one of the most exciting places in I think in my lifetime, where I've seen within the industry we at the cusp of sort of an explosion of how technology is going to change fundamentally how you and I deliver care. We've often spoken, Bob, about in terms of how Cyprus will look in the future and how Beach looks in the future.
Right. I can't believe they got the music going again. James, what are you doing to us? We're just getting started. I mean, really? We're talking technology, and you had to slip this in? But really, I want to talk about what Beach Medical Group and Cypress Home Care are going to look like in the future, but we got to take a break for our sponsors. You're listening to Health Futures, Taking Stock in You. I'm Bob Roth with Paul Fredericks, and we got Michael Sumner in the house. We'll be right back.
At the bottom of the hour, we pause for a look at the world's news. Then we're back with Money Talk. We're Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
$1 million. That's the bond set for Dylan Roof, the 21-year-old whom authorities say told them he hoped to start a race war by killing 9 African Americans at a midweek Bible study meeting in South Carolina. At a hearing last hour, Chief Magistrate James Gosnell told the court those shot dead weren't the only ones hurt by Roof.
We have victims, 9 of them, but we also have victims on the other side. there are victims on this young man's side of the family.
As the search for two escaped killers continues, correspondent Alexandra Field reports the U.S. Marshal Service is offering a reward in hopes of generating more leads.
That $50,000 reward comes on top of a $100,000 reward already in place for any information that leads to the arrest of these two fugitives.
Weather has closed a section of I-35, a major highway linking Oklahoma City and Dallas, and forecasters expect the worst weather overnight in the Ozark Mountains. I'm Evan Haining.
I noted that tire tracks leading into the joint were different than the ones going out. Inside, clues were everywhere. Low prices, no appointment necessary. Someone needed new tires, and they needed them now.
Get up to $120 in mail-in rebates on select tires when you use the Quick Lane credit card. Quick Lane is ready to serve. Visit quicklane.com. Subject to credit approval. Rebate by prepaid debit card. Other tire manufacturer rebate or offer cannot be combined with Quick Lane credit card rebate or offer. See your participating Quick Lane for details through 6/30/15.
Hey, neighbor.
Hi, so for Father's Day, the kids and I want to tidy up the garage, a.k.a. the dad cave.
Great. Ace has hundreds of Craftsman products, including a 6-drawer tool chest for just $99.99.
Ace is the place for craftsmen, with lots of great gifts for Dad, including a 6-drawer ball-bearing Craftsman tool chest for $99.99. Because getting help at Ace is like going to your neighbor. Now through June 30th at participating stores. Store stock only. See store for details.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Listening to the great news and advice from Money Radio is easier than ever with many choices. Log on to moneyradio1510.com to find all the options.
Do you need to sell your home and want to get top dollar using a proven marketing system? How about a guarantee to sell your home in 59 days or less? Be sure to listen to Brian from the Yelder team at Home Smart as he joins Ken Morgan on Business for Breakfast this and every Friday morning at 7:24 for a new segment called Buyers and Sellers. Brian will discuss preparation, marketing, strategy, and what buyers are looking for to get your top dollar for your home. So tune in for Buyers and Sellers this and every Friday at 7:24 a.m. right here on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM.
You don't have to worry about, okay, do I have to look at the dollar? I don't have time to know if the dollar goes up, why it's going up. Who's going to tell me that? You think your broker, your planner is going to tell you that? Of course not. But here at Phil's Gang, you haven't got to worry about that. I will set the stocks up for you. Every morning I tell my students, if the dollar is going to be up today, here's the stocks we're going to be in. If the dollar is going to be down today, here's the stocks we're going to be in. Does your planner do that? Does your money manager do that for you every day? I do that for my gang every day. And the main thing is the bank stocks. If these aren't doing good, you know the economy sucks. And right now, the banks aren't going up. They know a correction is coming. And we know another QE4 is coming. We are setting up for a nice correction. And if you're a gang member, you're going to take advantage of that and you're going to make money as the market goes down. Yes, you are.
For more information, simply go to philsgang.com or call 877-600-4264. 877-600-4264. That's 877-600-4264.
Hi, I'm Johnny Dean.
And I'm Rick, the Professor Plum.
Every day on Bucket Strategy Investing, we're talking about financial planning, investment decisions, and retirement strategies.
We focus on wealth education and the strategy designed for the needs you have today
and the goals you have for the future. Tune in to Bucket Strategy Investing
and call in with questions.
Retirement strategies, taxes, Social Security, and more. That's what we're talking about on Bucket Strategy Investing.
At Kubota, value means getting more than you expected for less than you thought. Visit your Kubota dealer today for incredible finance offers and instant cash rebates. That's value. That's Kubota.
I'm Bruce Vail with Your Money Now. eBay has sold back to Craigslist the 28% stake it has held in the classified marketplace since 2004. That will end what has been a contentious relationship. eBay sued Craigslist in 2008, alleging Craigslist had diluted its stake, costing eBay a board seat. Craigslist claimed eBay used its board seat to gain access to confidential information. eBay said all litigation with Craigslist would be dismissed as part of the sale. Media giant News Corp said it plans to start paying a dividend for the first time since the company separated from 21st Century Fox in 2013. News Corp said it will pay a semi-annual dividend of 10 cents a share in the second quarter of its new fiscal year, which begins June 29th. News Corp shares are up more than 2%. The broader market remains lower. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 99 points. The NASDAQ Composite is off 18. That's Your Money Now.
By 2025, it's estimated that half the world's population will lack access to safe drinking water. A sorry state of affairs, as 2/3 of our planet is covered by water. We are helping develop solutions for salt water to satisfy the thirst of future generations. BASF. We create chemistry.
You're faking it. You go around pretending everything's okay. You're irritable, you lose sleep, and your mind is racing with fearful thoughts. You want it to stop. You just don't know what to do. I'm Lucinda Bassett, founder of the Midwest Center for Stress and Anxiety. I can show you how to make it stop without abusing alcohol or taking medication. I did it, and so have hundreds of thousands of people just like you. Please, call now.
Call now and we'll send you this wonderful free CD. 1-800-749-3104. 1-800-749-3104. 1-800-749-3104.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
Welcome back. My name is Bob Roth, and you are listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you. And we're coming at you live from the Money Radio studios right here in the Scottsdale Air Park, found right here on 1510 AM, 99.3 FM, and the World Wide Web at moneyradio1510.com. It's hard to believe we're on our third segment. If you've missed the first two, you can catch them right up on our website at cypresshomecare.com. Push on the radio button, you catch the first two segments, and you'll be able to catch the next two after we're done here. So I've got Paul Fredericks here as my co-host, and I've got our guest in the studio. I've got Michael Sumner from Beach Medical Group. He's the CEO over there. And we were talking, Michael, before we went for the break, we were talking about where is this thing called healthcare going? And you've shared with our listening audience and with me some of the great key learnings that you have seen over in Europe and in Great Britain. And we were talking about where we are as it relates to caregivers, and you had a caregiver shortage there, and we have a very big one here, and it's only going to get worse. And just to refresh to our listening audience, we were talking about technology is going to be a part of the solution, but it can't be the only solution.
Absolutely not. It's not just a change in the technology, because we are seeing some amazing new technologies coming in. You know, we just have to look at sort of the movement that we're seeing in commercial things like the Apple iWatch. That's really just the start of a sea change in you know, the potential for home monitoring and actually enabling all our lives. The other areas that are vitally important to this well is actually looking at a change in how we organize the delivery of care. So very, very much in terms of how do we focus on what we want to achieve and focus less on ticking all the boxes and all the forms across the system, which seems to be endemic in this system. I have this great saying, which I've said to you, Bob, quite a few times, and I come from the UK, so I say, well, you know, the British Empire invented modern bureaucracy. But when I came to America, I felt the Americans perfected it.
And it is so true. And I mean, you and I and Paul were talking at the break. I mean, just take a look at our tax code. I mean, and then on top of that, look at, you know, some of the administrative burdens, if you would, if you're a Medicare provider. I mean, to see that $750 million was being, you know, taken out of the system illegally doesn't surprise us.
Absolutely not. You know, when you make the system so complex that you need 4 people just to sit there and work out how to fill out one invoice, you are going to get fraud.
Right.
Because it's possible to sift this in. This is about simplification and saying, what value does this bring and how does this make people's lives better? Everything should really focus back to that.
It definitely should. And, you know, I want to go back talking about the technology because, you know, technology can help us not only as it relates to our clinicians and managing our lives and lifestyles, but I can tell you personally, and I wear one of these wearables. I don't have an Apple Watch yet. It is Father's Day on Sunday. I hope my wife and my children are listening. An Apple Watch. I understand they're in the retail stores now, and the cool thing about the Apple Watch, and this is not brought to you by Apple, and I'm not, they're not one of our sponsors, but I understand there are like 10 sensors in that thing, and it can do a lot in terms of giving you data. And for me, I wear a wearable because I want to be accountable. And, accountability, I think each one of us wants to be accountable. It's just hard to measure it. And with the advent of technology, we can do that now.
Absolutely. The really exciting thing for all of our futures is really the predictive nature of technology. This is not about, sort of predicting some horrible disease or something. This is more about understanding that the basic habits in our life are really the predictors of our future. And these wearables are great because what they do is they remind us almost on a daily basis, and I don't mind whether you're 15, 55 or 95. They do remind us clearly about how we can make small subtle changes that make our lives better, that make us much healthier, much happier, and actually we can enjoy our lives. Right. So I've huge thoughts on these.
And I've shared this with our listening audience. My wife is a personal trainer. She runs a boot camp and trains many people. And she's had this adage, even prior to becoming a personal trainer about 11 or 12 years ago, is it's calories in and calories out. And the very basic wearable that people wear are counting your number of steps. And that equates to calories. And if you can expend as many calories as you're taking in, you're going to be a net sum zero. And if you can expend more calories than you're taking in, then you're going to drop some weight. So, I mean, it's nice to be accountable. And, that's one of the technological pieces that I think is really, really good. And, I want to go back and really talk about, the change and the shift that we have as it relates to delivery of care here in the United States. And you and I have had a number of conversations, especially with your experience over across the pond on the other side. And that is, we have been fixated as providers, whether it be Beach, whether it be Cypress, fee-for-service. It's always been fee-for-service.
Absolutely, and realistically, when you think about this is counterintuitive on why it should be fee-for-service. Because really, if you go to the doctor and you don't get better, why should he be paid? Now, I know that's very simplistic, and maybe I'll have a lot of physicians who have some issues with me about that. But what I'm saying generally is there's no quality control measure within that particular system. If we say, you go to your physician or you actually receive care from a company like Cypress, what you're really saying is they, to a certain extent, should be held accountable for that outcome. But on the other side, when they have a great outcome, they should do well out of that as well. So I'm a great believer in this transfer of moving away from fee-for-service and saying, let's move to a structure within the total health system where we look at an outcome-based, and everybody's going to say, well, I have this outlier. This person is never going to change. Well, actually, I don't truly believe that. I think everybody can change. Mm-hmm. But on that element as well, there will always be outliers in every system. It's what are you going to do for the whole that's going to work. And I think this model has been proven in other countries in the world.
And I see a lot of organizations moving to exactly what you're describing. And it doesn't just reside with the clinician themselves. I mean, the clinicians are getting smart, and they're hiring people to be health coaches, to be advisors, to, be the person to call and say, hey, Mrs. Davis, I'm calling this morning to just make sure you've taken your medication, or just checking in and say, hey, how are you feeling?
Absolutely. And, I am so encouraged. I meet with physicians every single week, and we have wonderful physicians in the Valley. And I'm so encouraged by how they are really get the whole question of preventative medicine, get the question of it's the outcome that matters. They really are understanding that it is far better for this to be not a sickness care system, right, but a health care system.
And it's funny you say that, because I've said that many times here on the show. There's probably no bigger oxymoron than the word health care. In our state, or in our country, it's always been sick care. And I think we're moving, to your point, to truly health care. Paul, I know you have a comment. You're being very quiet. I thought you had a comment.
Actually, I was in a client's home just the other day where he had a tablet, and he's a cardiac patient. And every morning he weighs himself. He puts his finger on this indicator, takes his pulse, takes his blood pressure. They ask him a few questions he interacts with, and it goes right back to the nurse practitioner or whoever's doing it. I mean, just look how far cardiac patients have come in the last year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. Before, if they gained weight 2 or 3 pounds in a day, they never called their doctor. Now the doctor knows. So if they're retaining fluid, man, they know exactly what to do, and they can respond and prevent readmissions.
And they don't necessarily need to have that interaction with the patient. They can get that information just uploaded to them on their email or whatever. So, I mean, it's really revolutionary.
It's great stuff.
It is great stuff. And, Paul, who's this on our bumper?
Oh, man.
Come on.
It's Dorsey.
That's
right.
There you go.
Jimmy Dorsey.
Tommy
Dorsey.
Oh, there you go, Tommy Dorsey. You're listening to Health Futures Taking Stock in You.
And Moonlight Serenade.
And I've got Paul Fredericks as my co-pilot today, and I've got Michael Sumner here from Beach Medical Group. And just so you guys know, Beach is not just in the home care world. You guys do case management, you do nursing, you do therapies. I want to talk a little bit more about that in our final segment. We're going to take a break now. We'll be right back.
Laura Bramnick is a real estate agent and a real estate attorney. Laura Bramnick is in a unique position to create opportunities for her commercial real estate clients with commercial property sales or purchases, lease negotiations, landlord-tenant relations, creative financing options, and more. Visit TalkRealEstateAZ.com or call 480-624-2705. That's 480-624-2705. To talk with Laura, call 480-624-2705.
Hi, I'm Nick Grovich, host of Good as Gold, heard every Thursday at 1 p.m. on Money Radio. I have over 35 years of experience as a professional coin and bullion dealer, as well as a published author of 2 books that expose the inside workings of the rare coin market. Each week I'm going to share with you my tips on how to safely invest in precious metals and what to do if you're one of the 90% that were sold overpriced rare coins. Tune in every Thursday at 1 p.m. as I host Good as Gold, exclusively on Money Radio 1510 AM and 99.3 FM.
Hello, I'm Jim Gentrup, Principal Partner with Valvista Capital Management. At Valvista, we focus on small company stocks. We offer our clients over 25 years of research and portfolio management experience. Our clients, many of whom are high net worth investors and lead busy lives, entrust Valvista Capital Management to create additional wealth through small company stocks. In addition, the principals at Valvista Capital Management, unlike many money managers, have a significant portion of their assets invested alongside our clients. You should invest too, so call today at 480-646-4537. Our goal is to create long-term value and a trust-based relationship with our clients. Learn today how you can successfully invest in small company stocks with reduced volatility by calling Valvista Capital Management. The number again to call is 480-646-4537. That's 480-646-4537. You can also learn more at www.valvistacm.com. That's www.valvistacm.com.
At Kubota, value means getting more than you expected for less than you thought. Visit your Kubota dealer today for incredible finance offers and instant cash rebates. That's value. That's Kubota.
Now back to Health Futures, taking stock in you. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call 602-264-8009. Now, here's your host, Cypress Home Care Solutions, Bob Roth.
And this is Paul Fredericks sitting in for Bob. He will be right back in the studio, and we are so glad you joined us here on Health Futures, taking stock in you. And we are conversing with a gentleman from across the pond who's been here since the mid-2000s, Michael Sumner, CEO of Beach Medical Group. We've had a great discussion, and Michael, I just personally want to say I feel like I'm getting a master's level education in this hour about healthcare, where it's going, the historical roots from Great Britain, bringing it over to the pond and across the pond. And, we talked about a lot of different things, but let's help the listener. Where are we going in the future? What do you see happening that's happened in Great Britain? And is that coming here? And what's the good, the bad, and, if you will, the ugly of it?
Well, when I actually have a look at, what is the potential for our seniors for the future in healthcare, there are a number of trends which I think are absolutely clear. The trend number one is aging in place is what everybody wants. We are going to see far more conditions treated within facilities, within hospitals in the future. We are going to see everything moving to sort of an outpatient base, and dare I say it, to delivery in the home itself.
Home is the center of care?
And that is the core of where care will be in the future. The second trend that I see strong, and we've already spoken about this in this segment, is the whole way that the technology is now going to start weaving into our lives. Not to be that sort of intrusive element, but to be hidden. You're not actually going to know. It's just going to work behind the scenes. The third element is really the understanding that every one of us are individuals. We are unique, and that we're going to need to tie this, essence of being within the home, tying in technology and tying in a service delivery so that it's tailored to our individual unique things. And that's the challenge of our industry at the moment.
And I want to pick up on that, because that third piece is a very important piece. And I think that clinicians and providers are going to move away from the nomenclature that we've all been accustomed to referring to people that are receiving care as patients.
Absolutely.
And they're going to be now clients, consumers of those types of services, right? I mean, did that happen across the pond? I mean, did they transfer that? Or?
Well, certain of it. Sometimes these euphemisms can just be one bad euphemism to the another. We saw the transfer from patient to service user, which to me is a bit cold. Really.
It is.
Well, you could even use the word partner, because they
Absolutely.
are partnering with the healthcare provider and making sure that both ends are looking towards outcomes. Because whereas before, if it was fee for service, the patient can go home and eat their bag of potato chips and drink their soda, and still pop their hypertension medicine and say, well, the doc says I can do that, and this will control my salt level. And meanwhile, they're killing themselves.
I absolutely agree with you on that, this whole question. And I love that idea of the partnership. To me, that's just really the future of what this is. And as we weave these varying trends into place, we see big trends of in the upper area of healthcare, we see all this consolidation going on.
Mm-hmm.
But in a way, it's the most exciting part of healthcare is in the innovation that we're starting to see in the bottom companies, even companies like Cypress, etc., who are looking at new and innovative ways, companies like My Own Beach, where we look at different ways of delivering things. And I think, to a certain extent, a lot of this change has to come at this level, because otherwise, the United States can't live with this, with almost a burden of a lot of people moving into a sector and then having multiple issues in their lives, which is destroying the quality of that life. We really need to find answers to that solution.
Absolutely.
To me, which is the vital element for us moving forward.
And that, in a nutshell, and we've talked about it. We talked about it after, I think, the second segment. Where do we see Beach Medical Group and Cypress going? Is more being, as Paul indicated, more partners. I mean, we are going to be hand in hand with our clients that we serve.
Absolutely. We've alluded to all these things. We're going to become outcomes based. When we work with our clients, we are going to design the outcome. What it is that you want to achieve? What are the possible futures for you? How do we achieve that with you, and how do we help you achieve that? Because, by the way, you are the most important element of this. This is about care for you. And what we are going to have to change in the way we deliver, and I admit as an industry at the times, we have not moved quickly enough. But I think that's changing in the US today. And we're starting to see companies realize that this is about enabling the consumer, if you like, saying, yes, you're looking at those next 10, 20 years. How do we make it fantastic for you?
And let's face it, the generation we're talking about is the baby boomers.
Absolutely.
And the baby boomers reshaped our communities as they are today. And I believe they're going to reshape the way delivery healthcare is going to be done. And, Michael, I can't thank you enough to give me and Paul and our listening audience just kind of a snapshot of what we see the future for healthcare being delivered to us. And, I want to give our listening audience an opportunity to, if they want to reach you, because yes, you do provide home care like Cypress, and you do a fantastic job, and you have a strong presence out there in the East Valley and in Phoenix. If you want to reach Michael and reach his company, you can reach him at 480-461-9370. He also does nursing and therapy, stuff that Cypress doesn't do, but as you can see and as you've heard from Michael, very, very driven to the customer and consumer outcomes. You can call him there at 480-339-4400. I can't thank you enough for giving us that just preview to what we really see the landscape of healthcare in our future. And, as I described before, it's changing every single day. And, I opened up with that news about the fraud, the Medicare bust, the largest ever. We've got to get a handle on that. And I think part of it is what you described is we've made it very complicated. And we as a country, we as a government need to simplify that a whole lot more.
Yeah, Bob. Michael, as we wrap up, we got less than a minute. Is there anything practical we can give to our listeners as this change continues to happen? What would you recommend?
The biggest change that I can give to any of our listeners is to become involved within your own care and your health care. We see so many people today who are just willing to leave it to somebody else, to the professionals. And by becoming involved in what your future should look like means that you actually have a chance of achieving it.
I think that's great advice. And if you're not getting the information that you want, the nice thing is that we in America have choice.
Absolutely.
You can get a second opinion. And I strongly urge that.
And that's why this is the most brilliant country in the world, is because you have that choice.
And that is why I think we're moving from that nomenclature, patient, to consumer.
Yeah.
Because you do have that choice. I think, Paul, we're going out with Bruce Springsteen.
The boss.
And I just want to remind our listening audience, it is Father's Day this weekend. Happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there. Michael Sumner from Beach Medical Group, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Bob.
You're listening to Health Futures, taking stock in you.
You've been listening to Bob Roth Health Futures. If you have questions about your own or your loved one's future health care, call Cypress Home Care Solutions at 602-264-8009. That's 602-264-8009. Or visit CypressHomeCare.com. Be sure to join Health Futures with Bob Roth every Friday at noon, right here on Money Radio 1510 and 99.3 FM.
Be sure to listen to Money Radio's newest show, Talkin' Money with Steve Netzel of Netzel Financial. Join Steve every Wednesday at noon as he covers a multitude of topics based on true asset class diversification within your portfolio and strategies that help you reach retirement. Talkin' Money focuses on the most important thing, you and your money. So tune in every Wednesday at noon for Talkin' Money on Money Radio 1510 AM, 99.3 FM.
Money Radio 1510
and 99.3 FM.
Is KFNN Mesa Phoenix and K257CD Phoenix. It's the joy of discovery. New ways to invest or new ways to use your investments. It happens every day right here on Money Radio. Dow is down 84 points right now. The NASDAQ is down 14. The S&P 500 is off by 9 points.
When people want to talk about money, this is the place they come to. And there's more on the way after this break for the latest news. And we begin now.